morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's GDP continues to rise, overtaking China as the fastest growing major economy. Indian government calls a special parliament session, looking forward to having fruitful discussions and debate. Over 70 people killed overnight when fire rages through a rundown 5-story Johannesburg apartment block, one of the worst such disasters in South Africa. African Union suspends Gabon's membership one day after military officers ousted President Ali Bongo. Takeover ends the Bongo family dynasty's almost 6 decades in power. And Neeraj Chopra finishes second spot with the 85.71 meters throw at the Diamond League meet in Zurich. India's gross domestic product or GDP continues to rise. The GDP grew 7.8% in the first quarter of the financial year. India remains the fastest growing major economy as China's GDP growth in the April-June quarter was 6.3%.
India's gross domestic product or GDP for the first quarter, that is from April to June, stands at 7.8%. This was an acceleration for India's economy as the GDP growth stood at 6.1% in the fourth quarter of the previous financial year. The 7.8% growth in comparison is lower to the 13.5% GDP growth for the first quarter of the previous year. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur has touted the figures as a milestone in India's unstoppable economic growth, crediting Prime Minister Narendra Modi for this achievement. However, India's economy continues to grow at a steady pace and is likely to improve further during the upcoming festive season.
GDP growth rate has come out at 7.8%, which is a stupendous growth rate. With this, India has become the fastest growing large economy in the world. US numbers have been around 2%. China is also expected to be in similar range and cooling down. India is now basically going to be the engine for world's growth, and this quarter the services sector has grown more than 10%, which has been in a way the center of growth for India for quite some time.
The GDP growth, which came at the highest in last 4 quarters, is driven by services. All spectrum of services, wise hotel, IT, travel, transport, have grown at a good pace. Agriculture gave a robust growth at 3.5%. Construction continued to hold on thanks to the private sector, state and central government spending.
The combined index of 8 core industries increased by 8% in July 2023 as compared to 4.8% in the previous year. The growth of 8 key infrastructure sectors also grew in production of coal, crude oil and natural gas. Manufacturing showed growth for the second quarter in a row. The pace of growth picked up slightly to 4.7% in the first quarter of 2023-24 from 4.5% from the previous quarter. Agriculture, forestry and fishing grew 3.5% between April to June, while it was the service sector that recorded the sharpest surge. Neeraj Das report, DD India.
And India's government has called a special parliamentary session next month but hasn't revealed what will be covered. The session will take place between September 18th to 22nd with 5 sittings during that time frame. The monsoon session of Parliament concluded earlier this month and saw frequent disruptions and opposition parties moving a no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And now in the United States, Wall Street closed out the month in the red after a lackluster performance during the final day of August. Inflation data also out on Thursday will probably do little to change minds at the Federal Reserve ahead of next monetary policy meeting. Nick Harper sent this report.
It's been a tough month for Wall Street, in fact the toughest month so far this year. And despite a 4-day winning streak where the main indices remained in the green, Thursday's session didn't do enough to help the benchmarks claw their way into positive territory for the month. All three were down more than 1% for August. For the day, the Dow dropped 0.5%, the S&P also fell, down 0.2%, and the Nasdaq managed a small gain of 0.1%. On the economic data front, the core personal consumption expenditures index, a gauge of inflation, showed an increase of 0.2% month over month. The reading was in line with expectations, but still a disappointing increase, following more than a year of aggressive interest rate rises by the US Federal Reserve. Now, Friday will see the release of the all-important monthly jobs figures. A particularly robust reading, with hiring outstripping expectations, could push the Fed to hike rates again in September. As it stands, though, the thinking is that the US Central Bank will leave rates unchanged. One bit of company news, and Dollar General's share price fell off a cliff on Thursday following the release of a quarterly report showing a considerable earnings miss. Shares dropped 13% on the news. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
News from United Nations now, where United Nations Secretary General has sent Russian Foreign Minister a set of proposals aimed at reviving the Black Sea grain deal. The letter comes ahead of a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Tayyip Erdogan next week. Russia quit the deal in July, complaining that its own food and fertilizer exports faced obstacles.
We presented a set of concrete proposals in a letter I've sent to the Russian Foreign Minister. We presented a set of concrete proposals allowing to create the conditions for the renewal of the Black Sea Initiative. I believe that working seriously we can have a positive solution for everybody, for the Ukraine, for the Russian Federation, but more important than everything else, for the world, in a moment in which so many countries are facing enormous difficulties in relation to guarantee the food security of their populations.
Well, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. 74 killed and 50 injured in a massive fire in South Africa's Johannesburg. African Union suspends Gabon's membership a day after President Ali Bongo was ousted by military officers. And China issues alert for typhoon Saola as it nears coastline.
Swagat ahe to magnetic Maharashtra, the land of valor, dreams and wonders. A state that is a perfect blend of rich cultural heritage and modern cosmopolitan India. Its breathtaking beaches and luscious green Western Ghats are home to 4 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that attract innumerable tourists. Maharashtra is a state of vibrant cultures knitted together into a beautiful tapestry. Its people uphold a brave heart and a compassionate soul, a glimpse of which can be seen in the heartwarming stories of the land. Maharashtra is a leader in terms of agriculture, industrial production, trade and transport. From world-famous Nagpur oranges to world-class Nashik wines, from scenic expressways to the majestic sea link, the state is ready to take global center stage. Maharashtra's capital city Mumbai is also the financial and commercial capital of India. With headquarters of major corporate and financial institutions, including India's main stock exchanges, the city is a key driver of the service sector in India. Mumbai, the city of dreams, is also an art and entertainment capital and home to the Indian film industry, one of the largest in the world with a global fan following. Playing host to G20 meetings, Maharashtra and the city of Mumbai are ready to offer our guests an enriching glimpse of India's diversity, inclusive tradition and cultural richness.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Now from United States, let's take you to Africa, where 74 people were killed and 50 were injured in a massive fire in South Africa's Johannesburg. The fire broke out in a 5-storied building supposedly occupied by criminal gangs. It is estimated that over 400 vulnerable people lived there. Reports suggest that the building was being used by criminal gangs. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says that an investigation will be done to prevent future accidents.
And our hearts go out to every person who is affected by this disaster. This incident calls on all of us, from the emergency services and other entities of government, to reach out to survivors, to help restore people's physical, psychological well-being, and to offer all material help and assistance to the residents affected by this. And I do hope that the investigations into the fire will enable communities and authorities to prevent a repeat of such a tragedy.
Some updates from Gabon now, where the African Union on Thursday suspended Gabon's membership 1 day after President Ali Bongo was ousted by military officers. This is the first regional response to the coup. The takeover in Gabon ended over 6 decades of rule by Ali Bongo's family. Meanwhile, markets and trade in border town near Gabon remain suspended. The military junta, however, said it had resumed domestic flights and restored some state institutions, but land and air borders remain shut. The coup leaders who overthrew Gabon's Bongo dynasty will be sworn in as president on Monday. Also, in Niger, ruling junta has ordered the police to expel France's ambassador, a move marking a further downturn in relations and one that Paris says the military had no authority to make. The coup's leaders are following the strategy of juntas in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso in distancing themselves from the region's former colonial power amid a wave of anti-French sentiment. The visas of French ambassador to Niamey, Slavin, it and his family have been called, and police are instructed to expel the envoy. The move was condemned by regional African authorities and by Western nations. Well, the European Union's foreign ministers have agreed to start drafting legal groundwork for sanctions against coup leaders in Niger.
The ministers reiterated our will to support African solution for African problems. And it means that we will support ECOWAS. We have expressed this will from the first moment of the coup. It's up to them to take initiatives and decisions in order to counter this military coup. And we will follow, trying to implement the same kind of sanctions that they have decided. We are moving forward for an autonomous sanctions regime to take measures against the putschists. Work has already started, and tomorrow the Foreign Affairs Ministers will advance on that.
Well, some updates on Typhoon Saola now, where Hong Kong raised a strong wind signal to number 8 as Typhoon Saola approaches. The stock market and schools will remain closed on Friday. China has issued the highest typhoon alert as Typhoon Saola approaches the southeastern coast, threatening Hong Kong and other major manufacturing hubs in nearby Guangdong province. Hong Kong's observatory said it expects heavy rain and violent winds, while the city's water level is expected to rise appreciably until Saturday, with the potential for serious flooding. Typhoon may be strongest to affect Hong Kong in 5 years. The city's flagship carrier Cathay Pacific Airways cancels flights as Super Typhoon Saola edged closer to the city. Tropical storm Idalia drenched the Carolinas on Thursday with torrential rain that threatened to trigger flash floodings, while officials in Florida stepped up recovery. Drone footage on Thursday captured the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia's wrath on Florida's, with debris and flattened structures seen throughout Horseshoe Beach. The storm ranked as the most powerful hurricane in more than a century to strike Florida's Big Bend region. The damage and loss of life were less than many had feared, with authorities confirming 3 deaths linked to the storm in Florida and another in Georgia. Well, let's take you to Brazil now, where in an attempt to connect more with the various sections of the society, Brazilian President Lula da Silva interacts with people at a soup kitchen in Rio de Janeiro. President Lula launched Brazil Without Hunger to beat the poverty and hunger situations. He insisted that Brazil does not lack in food, but money is what brings imparity. A section of society has much to eat and the other may go without food for many days. He emphasized that the nation needs more jobs to ensure everyone has food and wealth of the nation gets equally shared. The Israeli military is preparing to demolish the home of a 41-year-old Palestinian truck driver who allegedly killed an IDF soldier in a car ramming attack. A checkpoint in the West Bank on Thursday. The man was shot dead by security forces after pulling his vehicle into a group of army personnel west of Ramallah, with Palestinian faction Hamas praising the incident but not taking responsibility. Well, some stories related to G20 now. Let's take you to India's capital, New Delhi now, which is all set for the G20 summit set to take place on September 9 and 10. Preparations to beautify the city are underway, with illuminated fountains, floral boards and much more being installed. Here's the special report. Fountains lit up with multicolored lights, and everywhere lush greenery. India's national capital, New Delhi, is being transformed to welcome the heads of over 40 states when the G20 summit begins on September the 9th. From small gardens to main highways, Delhi is aiming to show its best face to the world. India, a country with strong economic growth, is ready to host hundreds of delegates arriving to discuss the global economy. The iconic G20 logo is everywhere here. But it's hoped this will be a summit of substance, not just symbol. Flags on poles, one that India can be proud of. There is certainly pride in the pots and plants. The authorities say over 100,000 potted plants, 3,000 fully grown trees and over 4 million saplings have been planted in the central Delhi area in preparation for this summit. There are new sculptures too. Around 20 have been installed at 12 key districts along with 12 fountains. And it's hoped that long after the summit is over, the new flowers and fountains will benefit everyone in Delhi. A lasting legacy and a beautiful memory of a historic summit. India's theme for G20 is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. Here in the national capital, they are working very hard to welcome the leaders of the G20 nations. The authorities are leaving no stone unturned to make the city more beautiful than ever. From unique art installations to tall fountains surrounded by lush greenery, the city is expected to look better and brighter when the summit begins on September 9th. With camera person Mahesh, this is Siddharth for DD India, New Delhi. Another story from the national capital of India as Delhi gears up for G20. India's heritage market of Chandni Chowk in Delhi is buzzing with excitement to welcome the delegates and treat them with some centuries-old food and fashion. DD India correspondent Dibendu Mondal visited the market to get a sense of this excitement. Let's listen in.
As India gears to celebrate G20 and welcome the world leaders, the markets here in Delhi are buzzing with excitement. We are at Chandni Chowk, famous for various eateries, clothes. We are at a famous jalebi shop here in Delhi, Chandni Chowk, and we will straight away go across to this man and ask him, आपका G20 के लिए क्या preparation है?
हमारा ये प्रिपरेशन है जी कि ये बाहर के जो मेहमान आ रहे हैं, जॉन बाइडन आ रहे हैं, चाइना के राष्ट्रपति आ रहे हैं, वो सब आएँ और ये चांदनी चौक का प्रसिद्ध जलेबा और रबड़ी खाएं.
We are on the narrow bylanes of Old Delhi, and these bylanes are filled with hundreds of eateries which dates back to 100 years old during the Mughal era. We are at the Paratha Wala Gali, where they serve one of the oldest type of flatbread, stuffed flatbread, which is deep fried. They have variety of these deep fried parathas, which includes aloo paratha, which is smashed potato parathas, which is a delicacy here in India that is enjoyed by both young and old. There are several people, famous personalities, who have tasted them and have taken back the reminiscence of Old Delhi and the taste of Old Delhi with them. Chandni Chowk is also famous for its fashion. We are here at a lehenga shop that has specifically designed some lehengas for the delegates of G20 who will be visiting the national capital in the next week.
Sir, first of all, it's an honor for us that we are hosting G20, and the whole market is very euphoric about it, and we are expecting a lot of people to come and visit Chandni Chowk. We have a new collection. First of all, I would like to show you this lehenga and choli. So this is very popular in Western markets also. And then we have some Indo-Western with a choli and plazo, and with a shrug, with dhoti, with a dhoti and a top shrug. So these are all Indo-Western. They are very popular among the foreign dignitaries and foreign guests and all. We have keep coming in the market, and we are very happy, and we're looking forward that the markets are all open and lot of guests come to Chandni Chowk, and we'll give them a very good collection. As you can see, this is all a new line which we have specially created, keeping in mind the style and the taste of the Western countries, the kind of clothes they wear. So Indian fashion is all over the world. I think after France is India only. So I'm sure they'll be looking forward.
In Chandni Chowk, we are also joined by members of the Chamber of Trade and Industry that is looking after the entire preparation.
All the country, all the Delhi, all the traders are so excited about G20, and we are eagerly waiting from last 3-4 months to welcome the G20 delegates. And we are educating the traders. Traders are eagerly waiting. Lots of the traders they are not very good in English. That's why they have called their son and grandsons. They are expert in English. They can speak English fluently, because they don't want to get any kind of difficulty to communicate foreign delegates.
It is not only the traders who are excited about hosting the G20 leaders. The entire country is equally excited about hosting the G20 leaders and dignitaries and all the delegates that will be visiting not only this market in Chandni Chowk but also across the national capital. With camera person Manmohan Singh, this is Dibyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Well, let's now take a look at biodata of G20 leaders. Emmanuel Macron is the 8th president of France. He was born on December 21st, 1977 in Amiens, northern France. Macron graduated from the École Nationale d'Administration in 2004. He worked as an inspector of finance, contributing his expertise to the French government. In 2012, Macron became a part of President François Hollande's team, serving as the Deputy Secretary General of the Élysée Palace. Between 2014 to 2016, Macron was appointed as the Minister of Economy, Industry and Digital Affairs. Macron launched the movement on march in April 2016. On May 7, 2017, Macron made history by becoming the youngest president in the history of France at the age of 39. Macron was re-elected as the president on 24th of April 2022. Electric scooters are no longer available to rent in Paris after residents have voted to ban them from the streets. It's the first time a major European city has adopted electric scooters, before then choosing to ban them completely. Stuart Smith has more from the French capital.
Since 2018, parking bays like this one have been dedicated to electric scooters, but you won't find any of those here now. The three providers of e-scooters in Paris have packed them up and sent them to other parts of the country, as well as to other parts of Europe. When brought in, they were the new face of city transportation, paid for and unlocked simply via smartphone and non-polluting. But some residents in Paris found them a nuisance and a danger. Last year, 3 riders were killed using them and 459 people injured. That prompted a referendum. Earlier in the year, Parisians were asked if they wanted to keep the scooters. 89% of voters said no, though only 7.5% of those eligible to vote actually expressed an opinion at the ballot box. Nonetheless, the city decided to let the operator licenses expire last month. And so it's back to more traditional forms of transportation in Paris, with operators planning to bring in more e-bikes ahead of the 2024 Olympics. Stuart Smith in Paris, reporting for DD India.
Now from Europe to Middle East, where Abu Dhabi's AI company Inception, a unit of G42, has released world's most advanced Arabic large language model, JAIS. With a name inspired by UAE's highest peak, JAIS is a bilingual Arabic-English open source model that has been trained on a massive data set of text and code. The release of JAIS is a significant step forward for the development of AI in the Arabic world that can be used to improve the lives of millions of people. This can be used for a variety of tasks such as machine translation, text summarization, question answering, and facilitates communication between Arabic speakers and speakers of other language. Well, also, come September 9, and a new chapter will be written on the bilateral ties of India and Bangladesh, as the trial run of goods train from Bangladesh to Nischintapur in Tripura on the Indian side is expected to begin. The grueling trolley trials conducted on the meter gauge track by the officials and workers under IRCON of Indian Railways at the Nischintapur railway station is a testimony to the steadfast approach to overcoming any last-minute glitch. The rail line is considered strategic in nature, as India emphasizes on further enhancing the ties with Bangladesh. The government believes that trade between the two countries will also be strengthened with the operationalization of the rail link project. Well, also, let's give you some sports news, where India's Neeraj Chopra finished behind Jakob Veldich with a throw of 85.71 meters. Neeraj began with 80.79 meters throw in his first attempt, followed by 2 foul throws. He got an 85.22 throw in the 4th attempt, but his 5th attempt was once again a foul throw. Long jumper Murli Srishankar finished 5th. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Also, you can connect with us on Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We will be back with more news at its breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.
Live from New Delhi.